Welcome to the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd and Art.
Here we are for another episode of the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd and Art. And I don't even know how many episodes in we are now. I think we're up to, who knows?
It's crazy how many we've done.
I know.
When you brought up the number before, I was surprised.
Yeah. Now, we didn't record last week because we had a storm here in Texas and we were out of electricity for 3 days. And just goes to show you that I was not very well prepared for this storm. But I am going to be prepared for the next time. If we never get a storm like that, well, I'm still prepared just in case we do have a storm.
So we always managed to get hurricanes. When we were busy with TCW, we were doing events in September quite a bit. We'd have an event in September, like we did it like 3 years in a row. And September's a really busy hurricane season. For those who don't know, I'm in Orlando. And so it was a busy hurricane season. And Jen was home 2 years in a row by herself and had to go through hurricanes with the dogs and the whole deal.
I remember that.
So I'm getting ready to go up on stage for Fundamentals 2 and have to give the old like, oh, everybody did great speech. And I'm talking to Jen and the hurricane is just reaching like for here, the intensity. And I'm on the phone with her and she's super stressed and kind of panicked. And then the power cut out. And I'm like, I didn't get to talk to her again for like another 12 hours. I had to go.
I remember that.
Stage. Yeah.
I was just telling Adam about that because Adam's here in Dallas right now, our producer. And we were talking about how I remember when you were at TCW and you didn't talk to her and like how stressful it was for you and for her.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have stressed me out.
Did you ever listen to the video that Yoa took?
Yes. From Hurricane Maria.
Went through was nothing. Yeah, Jen went through Maria too, but we're talking like nothing. Yoa got like 180 mile an hour winds straight square on the head, man. It went right over him and then played the tape. The sound of it was
insane.
Oh my God, that was nuts.
Yeah, this storm that we had 90 mile an hour winds. And I woke up, it was right around 5:45 and I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I heard what I thought was tornado sirens, but it didn't sound loud enough to be tornado sirens, but it obviously from a distance, like our tornado sirens didn't go off, but I could hear the ones from up north. And, you know, at that early in the morning, you can hear everything. I can hear the planes taking off from the airport. We're not that close to the airport, but I can hear them. And in the morning, I could hear tornado sirens. And I'm like, is that a tornado siren?
Did you guys get a tornado or just like with like a microburst?
No, microburst. That's exactly what we got.
Okay.
And so, and then my son woke up and he comes into the bedroom and I was like, come watch the storm. And we're just watching these trees, these huge trees. We have, you know, pecan trees in the back. And then I just see a tree just like crunch down. And River goes, oh my God, the tree. I was like, whoa, what is like, maybe we should take cover. But the fact that I didn't hear any like tornado sirens, like, I think we're going to be okay. So we just rode it out and then the power went out and then we were out for 3 days, no power for 3 days.
How'd the dogs do with the storm?
They were fine. I have one dog, Luna, who doesn't like the storm. And this is something that she hasn't always had. That's happened over time with age.
Yeah.
And so we know we have a routine. We give her CBD oil and she does great with the oil and that really calms her down. And so that's been a good resource for us to have. So we know when the storms are coming, we kind of give it ahead of time, but it's like this microburst, I didn't know it was going to happen. It just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then she was pacing a lot and she was the one that actually woke me up because she felt it happening. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And then I was like, maybe there's a storm coming. And sure enough, that's what it was.
I had a dog early on in my career that had like a red zone reaction to storms. It was yeah, dude, it was something like I haven't seen another case like this. The panic was really something else that he would go through. And I mean, it was uncontrollable. I think I could handle it now. I think I have enough, enough tools and enough skills to handle it now, but I was maybe 2-3 years in where it's, you're still melding all the pieces truly together.
Yeah.
You think about that 3 years in, you got so much to learn. So,
yeah.
So what are we doing? What are we doing today, Art? What do we got?
Today, we're going to watch a video that we've been talking about probably since we first started the podcast. It's this one video that we've been talking about. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen the whole thing in detail. So,
I've taken a look at it a bunch of times. So, I think when we first started, me, you, and Lynn were going to break it down. And Lynn had his own opinions of it. And he had, started to say, So, if he's broken it down, dude, he's broken it down.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder what he'd have to say, but so why don't you, can we play it?
Yeah. Adam, can you go and play it? Hey, Jamie, can you go and pull up that clip?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The grizzly bears hacking the child. All right. So what do we got here? So I don't know if you guys have seen this. All right. So pause it. So apparently this has been, the way this has been shared on social media is that black dog charging across the street was running towards the kid, and that the German Shepherd right there on the left side of the screen was saving the child.
Yeah.
Right. And that it knocked the kid out of the way right here in order to prevent it from being attacked by this dog. So why don't you play it again, Art, and so you can kind of take a good look at it.
Okay.
Man, I actually just saw something new when I watched it that time.
Yeah, so did I actually.
I'll tell you. So tell me what you think. Because when I just saw that, I saw something different. Tell me what you think.
Well, the first thing is like someone put letters says German Shepherd saves child from charging dog, whatever. Now, I assume these are neighbors, obviously, because this guy in the orange shirt probably owns that black dog. Looks like the wife, the mother, and the child are playing outside. Now, what I noticed was that black dog, that I guess it's another shepherd of some sort, I don't think it was charging the kid. I think it's charging the dog. And I think there's a ditch right there. And I think what happens is the brown dog is actually trying to move forward to block the dog, or maybe even kind of go after it.
Right when it cuts to this next thing, pause it right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I was saying is that I think, see how this ditch area is right here?
Yeah.
It almost looks like where is that? He's not really intentionally protecting the child. I'm not saying that he wouldn't, but I think what happens, he's kind of he's positioning himself to where this dog is coming towards him. And then I see, I think the angle of the ditch actually pushes him into the child. That makes sense?
It does. Play it through right here.
Boom. Yeah. And then right here, it obviously pushes them out,
But play it one more time and pause it again, just a second later after that ditch incident. Tell you what, that dog means fucking business right there.
Yeah.
Just a second after it makes.
Right there.
Okay. Well, when I said I saw something totally different, I never thought that the black dog, was ever going for the boy. And when I saw the video, I never thought that. But what it looked like to me when I said I saw something different, that kind of changed a little bit of my impression that the dog was going for the boy, but of how much protection the brown dog is actually giving the boy here, is that, like you were saying, I think the brown dog changed levels going down in the ditch. And when he did that, what you'll actually see is the brown dog intentionally moved lower into the ditch. That was a move. And when he did it, it pulled that black dog into the path of the boy, which wasn't going to happen. And it almost looks like in that transition, the dog went, oh shit, and pulled the kid to the ground. So I think it's like a little bit of both. I think the dog actually intentionally pulls this kid to the ground. If you watch it through, when you just happen to pause it on a place, the first time, back a couple of plays ago, where you can see that the dog actually takes its paw too and pulls it to the ground. And so to me, it almost looked like in him changing his position, it moved the black dog into a different position, which changed it did make the brown dog pull it out of the way. The black dog wanted the dog, I believe.
Yeah, I agree too, by the way.
But this brown dog's a badass and just completely played the perfect defense. And, the spinning back around to gain awareness of where the kid was after he chases him off is really clear. I've protected you. That is my job.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be interesting to see what would happen in the following days when that brown shepherd would see the dog across the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wonder what type of, like, if you want to call it animosity. I know that's not a word that's good for us to use, but like how much of that fight stayed.
What's
in
the
it.
imprint?
Well, this wasn't the first time this happened.
Yeah.
That's not a first. And if it was, holy shit, that black dog has some issues.
Well, I think also it could have been just there's a fence. They have a big open property, looks like, and the other people have a white picket fence.
Right.
It's possible that the pressure had been building up on the other side of that fence, and it now has an opportunity to run over there.
True. Very true. Go ahead.
But I also agree with what you said. I don't think that the dog was going after the child. I really think it was going after the dog.
Oh yeah. I when the first time I saw the video, to me, when I was watching the video and breaking it down, I was never trying to break that part down. To me, that was clear. Now, maybe, I mean, again, we're all open to interpretation. But what I was trying to figure out is, did the brown dog intentionally pull that kid to the ground to quote unquote protect it? Even if that black dog wasn't coming over to get the kid, was there an intention from that shepherd right there to pull the dog down for what it deemed a protective reason? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell.
It didn't look back at him even for a second. It didn't give the kid any acknowledgement. You know what I mean? So maybe it is kind of.
Oh, go back real quick. Right there. Cause see right there. There was a moment.
Back to the kid.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was. Right there. Like there's a look.
Because that dog didn't stay with the brown dog. It moved.
No. Yeah.
That was kind of
you can kind of see the eye contact does go towards the kid.
Of the black
right there,
dog?
Right. Yep. Even right there. Look at that. And that brown dog is like, nope. It kind of cuts him off.
Oh, shit.
Look, in real time, here we are changing what we see.
Well, because I was focusing on a different part of the video. And that's the thing. There's always so much to see.
But that's and it happens if you watch it in real time. It happens so quick, that little eye contact
there's a part
right there.
that's really important that we can't see in this bottom left corner when they make contact.
Right.
I believe I've seen an angle where you can see that for some reason. Play it again. Hit play. I wonder what would have happened right there if the owner wasn't there. It looks like the dog was done. And
yeah. Wait a minute. Is there another dog in there?
Yeah, there is. There's two dogs. There. See, there's a second dog.
Yeah.
All right, Internet. What do you guys think?
Let me see if I can find another video of a different angle on that, and then I'll send it over to Adam. Oh, wait. Yeah. I did see a video the other day of oh, here it is. Hang on, this might be it. Yeah, they go out of frame. I'm looking at a different one that doesn't zoom in, but they go out of frame for that second.
Okay. Interesting.
I did see one. Want to watch a video? I did see a video where it was like a carjacking. I think it was like in Chicago or something like that. No, in Mississippi. Did you see this one, Todd?
No.
Here, when we played the video, it stalled. Right. Let me send this one to Adam real quick.
All right.
We can break this one down too, even though it has nothing to do with dogs. But it is a video that we could look at.
If it has not, what do you mean it has nothing to do with dogs, but it would work like on a behavior standpoint?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean, we got tons of those videos we can look at.
That's
so,
true.
like in that other video, what did you see? Like a lot of people talk about the type of aggression or type of behavior a dog has, like territorial behavior. Right, the tan shepherd, that was classic territorial. It stopped. It had its like, hey, I'm, that's as far as you need to be. But that other dog was very targeting.
Right. Prey drive.
Yeah, that was a very targeted, I'm going in. So, I mean, you don't normally see was it the kid? Was it the kid? I say no.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was going.
It'd be
in for the
interesting
dog,
to
but
if we could somehow get a hold of the family. I'm sure they've interviewed the family before. I bet you we can find a video where they've interviewed the family, and they could tell like more of the story. But from what I see, I mean, there could be so many reasons. Let's say the kids were, you know, messing with the dog on
very
the other
much.
side of the fence, you know, and
Yes.
then it's building up like this animosity towards the kids, and now it has an opportunity to go do something. And there's so much of the story that we don't
Kind of like that
know.
mailman effect, you know, like the reason the mailman's such a target is they show up every day, and
Yeah.
the dogs that, you know, blow up, it builds up, and then the door's left open, or, you know, or something like that. I remember early on, like I think I was actually still with Lynn at the center, and my friends had a really nice boxer, and that had happened. The door got left open, and it ran out and fucked up the mailman. And you know, I went and tried to talk to whatever it was, the animal control or something like that, and I didn't know enough at the time. I wish I could go back and have that conversation again. And it sucked. That dog ended up being put down because of that same thing. And it was a really good dog. I mean, they had children, they had small kids, and the dog was really good. It was a really friendly, really, looking back, happy-go-lucky dog.
Yeah.
But that buildup effect that you're talking about, if those kids harass that dog in any way, it could definitely create a reaction like that.
And then even like in the very beginning, like the way when the kid is running and the dog is following it, and it's very playful. The brown dog is very playful. You can kind of see that how it's happy-go-lucky. And then
Confident,
you see that
confident,
yes.
happy-go-lucky,
Yeah.
you know.
And you know, then you see this dog just come out of nowhere. Like that dog meant like it was chasing. It was pretty serious, and to go that distance with that intensity meant business.
Well, people talk about, you know, it's crazy how many people will tell you that their dog has fear aggression as they describe it, running across the living room and jumping up and biting somebody at the front door in the chest. You know, it's like, at what point were they afraid? You know, it's like the concept of what fear aggression, you know, you hear that a lot. I think it's more, that's how people reason their dog's behavior away. You know, my dog got nervous and bit, as opposed to being able to really look at a case and say, holy shit. But when it's moving forward that way, we got a different mindset going on than when it bites your ass or when it bites the back of your calf, you know?
But it didn't break skin. Okay, let me punch you. If it left bruises, is it okay? You know?
What do you say, man? What do you say to people? You know, everybody tries to justify in one way, shape, or form that type of.
I mean, I think people say that just because they're saying that because maybe the dog won't get taken away because if it, you know, it does break skin, they have to quarantine and see has rabies and whatnot. But like when people tell me that, again, depending on the situation, if I feel like I go, let's look at their point of view, because we talk about the fear aggression thing, right? And I think that a lot of times people unintentionally put a lot of pressure on the dog based out of love when the dog is not ready to be loved yet. And so when they put a lot of pressure on the dog by getting too close, or they try to hug it or share like some affection when the dog is not ready for it and they're into the intimate space, and they're just using a natural instinct of how do you clear the space out? Well, I'm going to use my mouth, and it works. You know, going back to the mailman, the dog will do that because it works. Right?
How about the videos where there's a lot of them out there where people wake a dog up and it strikes the camera? Do you think that's fear?
No, I think it's being startled.
Do you?
I guess that's a form of fear.
See, I see that as more of a symptom of a controlling reaction. I've always attributed that to like waking up your dad. You know what I mean? Like you go in there and you wake your dad up. Hey, dad, wake up. You know, especially old school dads. You know what I mean? It's like
I'm laughing because Anne laughs at me because anytime like I'm woken up, I'm like, is everything okay? What's going on? You know, like I have this little panic moment, like what's going on? And she's like, everything's okay. I'm just trying to wake you up and want to let you know that one of the dogs got out of the crate or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so
if you have a history of you know, controlling your family, and I mean from the dog's point of view, and you get woken up, I don't see. That's why that's where people, they want it to be fear. That's what I mean is like, what do you attribute that to? Like people are always wanting to reason away something like aggression in their dog. Like it's almost, they don't accept the animal in the dog. You know, my dog could never do that. My dog could never bite anybody. I was going to do a post. I actually recorded several versions that I just couldn't get out. There was a 6-week-old baby that was killed this week.
I saw that, dude.
And I went to the comments, and the reason I tried to do a post, if you go down to the comments, did you read the article?
No.
Yeah, I'm past the point. I can read it now. You know, I'm well enough past it. I'm always curious because there's always some writing on the wall.
Is it the one that jumped in the crib?
Yep. And they said it was 6 weeks old, and they had the dog for 8 years. And the thing is everybody's interpretation in the comments, first and foremost, what do you think the number one factor of blame was?
The parents.
The breed.
Yeah,
it was a husky. So now suddenly, if you go in the comments, everybody became like a complete expert on huskies, and they all started talking about husky this and husky that, and husky, you know, this behavior, and husky related to wolves behavior and all this stuff. So number one was huskies. What do you think was number two?
I don't know.
It was prey drive. It was triggered by prey drive, which is probably the closest to potential truth that it could be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is that, you know, depending on what, you know, what the dog was like, but even so at 6 weeks old, you're going to figure out, you know, what it was. God, what was I going to do for the third point? I remember it was that it was breed. It was prey drive and, jealousy. Jealousy. So those were the three reasons that were given to this dog doing that. And what do you think? So you know what? This is interesting because that video we just watched, that looks like a husky mix. It looks like that looks like blue, like a shepherd husky mix.
The black one. No, the brown one.
The brown one. Yeah. Right. And so that dog was obviously on some level, whatever way we break this down, on some level, what I can't disagree with is that the dog had that child in its mind when it was doing what it was doing. Okay. So that was obvious. So if, you know, if husky's so bad and all those things, what would you attribute that to? Was that jealousy why a dog would jump in a crate? Now I gave this a, like, kind of an outlier possibility as well. Again, I mean, I started to do the post on what questions I would ask. What would I want to know in this case to have an idea of what happened? And to me, I wanted to know the demeanor of the dog, like the temperament, right? Was this dog dominant and controlling, or was this dog submissive, you know, from the pack, back to the pack, however you want to see it, happy-go-lucky? And I think that would say a lot to me. A back of the pack would never do this. It's impossible. But to me, a happy-go-lucky, the outlier possibility was that there was almost an effort of helping. Like maybe the baby was crying, had gone on for a little while, had an extra gear to the cry. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there was an extra sense of distress. Maybe it had just had a period of time. And the dog jumped in the crate for a reason of, if you'd want to say helping, obviously not trying to eliminate. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Was kind of an outlier reason I gave. So what would you think in a case like that?
Well, you know, when you talk about the sounds how old was the child?
6 weeks.
Oh my God. I mean, it's bad either way, but man. Give me a moment. That's hard.
It is. And we talked about that when we had Steve on, and I looked it up, dude. It happens about once a month where an infant is killed by a dog. And, you know, to me, you know, I don't want to say jealousy, but I'm gonna let jealousy be the way people see it, because it is an essence of it. It's just not the same mentality of it. It's not as complex, but it's definitely, dogs can be like, I didn't invite that in here.
Yeah,
that's not a part of our family. I did not give the go ahead for that to come in, so that's got to go. And it can just be a spur, like the dog jumps on in the car seat, or in this particular moment, it jumped in the crib. But you would have seen something in that 6 weeks, no matter what, unless they just brought the dog in, it had been out, staying for relative something. You know what I'm saying? So what I said is these are the things I'd ask. I'd want to know, what is the dog's temperament? If I had a chance to meet the dog, I'd want to assess the temperament. What was the history of the dog's behavior in the house prior to the baby coming in? Was the dog pushy, controlling? They said no history whatsoever of aggression. I guess there was 2 dogs in there, but that doesn't mean not a history of control.
Right.
Right. So I would want to know that. And then I would want to know, what did the first 2 or 3 days look like when the baby came home? How did the dog act? Did it spend all its time whining, circling, putting its paws up on the crib, or putting its paws on you, trying to insert itself into the feedings, into the cleanings, into the moments of care, right? Like, or did it spend all its time nervously under a bed in another room, or did it spend time like in a fuck you pose over on the couch with its back to you and the baby? You know what I mean? So you like, that's why at 6 weeks, I think you would have seen some things that lead up to what could have been the trigger for that.
You know, it's interesting that we're talking about this because my youngest son, Canyon, he's finding his voice right now. And when you're finding your voice, sometimes they kind of yell and scream, and it can be very high pitched. And Luna starts whining, like because of the screaming. So Anna and I, anytime we see her, we're like, all right, Luna, let's go to the other room so you can get some time by yourself. We move her away just so that she doesn't have to be stressed out. Now, here's the thing.
Would she nip or bite? Would she nip or bite?
I think any dog has a potential to do it, right? I don't want to find out.
Right.
And so we just, she's obviously very stressed about that high pitched screaming, which could be, an indication for her that if she gets uncomfortable enough, I shouldn't say she's never not try to bite a dog, because she has. There's a dog, talking about this imprint with the first dog that which we could talk about. There's one dog she just does not like. If she hears that dog, and she doesn't do that with anybody but that dog. So when you say, yeah, she's around hundreds and hundreds of dogs and she's fine, but this one dog, she's not. I don't want my son to be that one child that she happens to bite too. So if I see any type of like stress, I'm just going to take her out. I think that's fair to her. And she's 13 years old, dude. Like, her health is starting to decline. She gets a free pass with a lot of things, but there's certain things that she's not going to get a free pass on. That's one of them.
My daughter has singing lessons, and whenever she starts her singing lessons, they have a warm-up phase where she goes through all these things. And I have to get Hercules and Blue out of the room because they'll start to they get caught up in the energy of the singing, like you're talking about the voice, and
not Mr. Pickles.
They start to howl. No, nothing makes him. He can't hear shit.
I know he's deaf.
But he's never. You know what? Even when I get the other ones howling, he's never like joined. He knows there's something going on, but he's never joined in. That would be pretty funny to watch. I've never seen pitties howl. Have you? Or
pitties?
Anything? Yeah.
Yeah. Not bulldogs.
Addy, but I've never. He's American Bulldog Pity Mix. I've never really seen him get into anything like
Junior. That. Remember Junior used to howl all the time?
Would he?
Yeah.
I know he'd whine sometimes. But
he would howl when Caesar would do the oh, and he would just have everyone howling.
Oh, that's right. He did. No, I didn't remember that whole time.
There was one time we were there, and I remember it was like either his birthday or I don't know if you remember. We had like mariachis there one time, and then he got Junior to start howling. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I don't know what that was for, but I've never seen a bulldog howl.
No.
No.
So I don't know about that. So what kind of case did you have this week? I was telling you yesterday, along the same line of what we were talking about, where you see that kind of protective behavior.
So I've been working with that Mexican street dog.
Oh yeah.
Dog
I think Mexican street corn every time you say it. I'm like, think of Chili's. So every time you say Mexican street dog, I immediately think of like Mexican street corn.
So Dolly was with us for a couple weeks, and here's actually something that we did. So we were walking her on the halty, or on the figure eight, and when I first met her, she was so intense. I got to show you a video, Todd. This dog was intense, like crazy intense, right?
And by so, intense, like intensely, like in the environment, intense
when it would see another dog on a walk, it would go crazy. No,
Okay, so
very
super,
vocal,
very
very
vocal.
forward and vocal. And so people see like, oh, my dog's aggressive, but I'm like, your dog's not aggressive. I was like, I'll prove it to you. Like, and so we went to our field, our social field, and I say, hey, meet me here on a Saturday, and I'll bring some of my dogs. And sure enough, the dog was just really social. And I knew this because she told me like the dog used to live on the street in Mexico with a pack of dogs, and so I was like, I knew that the dog was social, and you could just tell that the dog was social. It was just frustrated with being on leash and with season the
Was it
dog.
social with people?
Yes, very social with people, but just not very connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those street dogs. And so ended up working with her, and we had the owners had already done the figure eight on her because they were previous clients of ours, or they're still clients of ours, but they got their other dog passed, and so they got a new dog, this Mexican street dog, and so they had already done the figure eight. And anytime they would see a dog,
racist thing to say. We just need to call it a street dog.
yeah, let's call it street dog.
Racist. But
Why I got to put a label on it?
Well, it's wearing the Mexican halty, so we'll use the Mexican.
This is correct. Well, Caesar calls it Mexican halty. So basically, figure eight is basically turning a slip lead into a head halter. And so anytime we would see a dog, it would jump up and stand up on his back feet and go crazy and flip out and then try to fight the nose, the piece on the nose. And so I struggled with this dog. Anytime we would see a dog, it would just fight this halty, fight it. Like just fight it. It would be fine when it didn't see a dog or wasn't in that reaction. I was like, okay, I'm going to work it until it gets work it through. So help it through. And I was like, why am I fighting a battle? It's going to just take not a long time, but I could just get this over and done with.
Let's go to that for a second. What do you call that? So I have a name for it. It's funny I'm curious if we're on the same page of like the type of aggression. Some people call that redirected aggression. What do you call that? When they go from going, hey man, I want to fuck that up right there, but I can't get to that, so I'll just fuck with this halty right here.
Yes, I call it. What do I call it? I called
displaced.
Displaced or redirected or displaced. Well, but we see that with anxiety. We see that with excitement, all these other things.
Right? I can't. You just broke up for a second. So redirected and displaced is different, right?
Yeah. So, right? So here's the thing: like when that happens, it's not that it's going to fight, but when I say fight as a forward moving mind, right? Yeah, it's moving towards. So now the fight gets put on this. It's fighting this. It's moving forward to get it off, to relieve that pressure. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I'm just going to put a prong collar on this dog, so it's not fighting this. Yeah. A dog already walked really nice on leash, it's nice. But I put a prong. Actually, I put one of those plastic prongs. Have you ever seen those? Star Mark collars.
Those are really cool.
Yeah, and I just put it on this dog, and that was the one thing that just it lowered the intensity of the dog where I could work it through, and the dog has made huge strides. But not only that, I'm able to use when I apply that physical pressure to connect with the dog, so I can kind of like give him a little pressure, and she looks up at me, and I just kind of
instead of the manipulation of this,
right? Yeah. And so I was like, man, I'm just gonna take that off and just work with her with this Star Mark collar, and it worked. It worked like a charm. And Adam's here. Adam filmed the first time we met, and he filmed today, so it'd be kind of cool to see like a before and after. But it was one of those things.
Collars, but the reason I don't find that I use them very often is most of the people who show up with one obviously want to change it, and I've almost gotten in a habit just of it's not a tool that I jump to, but if a dog's never had one on and they're in that right energy level, they're really quite fantastic. And I like to use them relatively loose. I don't like getting it when somebody gives you one and it's really tight, like it's already the pressure won't release and it's just real firm. I don't like hearts. Yeah, I don't like using it like that. And I even like it to where I can flip it over to where I'll use it on a dog, and I can use it on a sensitive dog and just keep it on the smooth side when I'm kind of teaching. But then some of those sensitive dogs have, like what you're saying, they have those moments where they can get really fucking high and you need something else and you can flip it over and use that. They can be great. The prong collars could be a fantastic tool.
Yeah, the plastic ones you can't put upside down, but the metal ones you can.
But the plastic ones are soft enough to me that you don't get that. It's not so dramatic. Like that metal prong collar is pretty dramatic for some dogs.
Yeah. I don't use them a lot. As a matter of fact, I had to search for one in my house, but it was just what worked for this dog, and I'm not committed to one tool.
Oh, hell no.
I just find something that works.
You know where they work really well is, have you ever used a micro prong collar on little dogs? We get these little dogs
You've
under.
talked about this before, and I've never used one.
You gotta just go find one, order one online, just so you have one in your bag or something. And when you get these dogs that have shown up on a harness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like yesterday's a perfect example. They show up on a harness, and you do anything up here, and they're too sensitive. I remember, and what is it, like 68% of all statistics are made up on the spot or whatever the stupid. I remember hearing something that I remember the number being 60% of studied dogs had damage to their tracheas. And so, I'm kind of cognizant of this, especially with these little dogs. And although we can use a slip lead, I think very safely, almost across the board, I don't ever feel like I've ever used a slip lead in a way that was harmful. I don't think the owners always can. And those little prong collars are fucking magical on those little dogs because it fixes pulling really fast. And at the same time, most of these little dogs are reactive, but they're just excited reactive. And instead of setting them down and letting them bounce against their harness, and it's a micro prong. These things are tiny.
Mm-hmm.
They're tiny, tiny, tiny. You don't get like a small one. You get these little tiny micro ones. And they're hard to find, but they're worth having in your bag.
There's a company called Kimberlin, who makes them. And I used to have one. I had one for years, It just sat there in my toolbox. Never used it. I ended up throwing it away because I was like, never really found a need to use it. But I will definitely be open to use it one day. I will say that where I really like using some of the like prong collars is the brachiocephalic.
Yeah, is that flat face?
Yeah, the short note. Why I can't think of the stupid word. Anyways, yeah, I like using, so instead of using a slip lead, like I'll start with a slip lead, but I just know the owners are going to struggle.
Yeah.
And I use those star mark collars like on the French bulldogs. It works like a charm on those dogs. And yeah, and the reason why also, so people are out there listening, why I go that route is because sometimes if you hand over a slip lead to an owner, and this could be for any dog, but more so those dogs, those French bulldogs, bully, short snout dogs, is that if you just put pressure on them and you take away their airway, like they can't breathe as it is, and you just take away, the airway, the little bit that they have. I call it, they have awake apnea because that's what it is. There's not asleep; they're actually awake and they have apnea. But just for safety reasons, I think the prong collar, because of the way it puts pressure around the neck, it actually doesn't go put pressure around completely; it just puts it around those little points, and it takes care of a lot of like the pulling thing. I'm a big fan of them. I don't use it. Like I said, I don't use them a lot, but when I do use them, I find the benefits in them.
What's a surprising tool that you use? Like, what would be a tool that people would be like, huh, really? That you use or will bust out once in a while?
Oh, here's the one. Sometimes I'll use, believe it or not, the Easy Walk harness.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
I love those things.
No shit.
Yeah, because I'll tell you why.
Like, when would you bust one of those out?
So, I mean, here's the thing. Like, sometimes when people are so committed on using a harness, I'm like, okay, well, let's use that one. I really like that one. Again, I don't use it a lot, but sometimes I'll pull it out because you can still apply pressure to on the front of the chest and still get some of the same reactions. And I've used, like I said, I've used an Easy Walk harness like, I don't know, 5 times in my career that I can remember, that people are like, oh, well, they do have a collapsed trachea, something like that.
Right.
It's not because anything I did. It was because of, something maybe they did or previously, or the dog, they didn't use a slip lead correctly. Like, for us, I like to put it way up high, things like that. And, my whole thing is use the leash as little as possible, but as much as you need, not all the time. But yeah, I've used those Easy Walks, those front clip ones. Oh my God, I've used those.
Have you ever seen a dog or had a dog, or I think it's called the vagus nerve, just happens to be in a spot that the leash has access to, and a little bit of pressure hits it and they drop. They just
yes, that has happened to me before.
A couple of times. Fortunately, I was at the vet working at Monica's place with one of them. So, I mean, I had seen that before, so I was relatively comfortable with what it was and the way that it recovered. But being at a vet's office was great because they could go in and do a quick checkout, like really take the dog, look at it, and they handed her a printed piece of paper with information about that it's just whatever it is. I think it's right here, nerve on the side.
That has happened. I worked with a bulldog. Actually, as a family in LA that I worked with, they had like 10 dogs.
and they had two bulldogs, and they had already done some training, and so they had a slip lead on the dog, and the dogs were pulling so hard on the slip lead, and two bulldogs. And I was like, let's go on a walk. And so we got all the dogs, and most of the dogs were pretty good, except these bulldogs. One bulldog particularly was really reactive with seeing a dog. And I remember I was walking that dog, okay, and it was on a slip lead, and then had that vagus nerve also, but they didn't tell me, but they also didn't know either. And
Right.
so the dog like pulls towards the dog and like kind of jumps in the air, and so just boop, just collapsed, like collapsed. And they were like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" I'm like, "Vagus nerve," you know. And I was like, "Let's just put a prong collar on the dog." So we ended up putting a prong collar on the dog, and that was what saved that dog.
I have an appointment, I think, on Friday with somebody that's got 10 dogs, and one of their dogs, or there was a pack attack, and it ended in a fatality of one of the other dogs. So it was interesting.
Hey, that's actually something that I think people that we should talk about also is that. So I have 7 dogs, and I've never really had. I mean, I've had like one scuffle in 12 years, and it was kind of like it was at our old house. It was Luna and Honey, and I honestly don't remember what happened. I remember I was getting the dogs in, and I think Luna doesn't like a lot of dogs around her. Like she's to the point now where she's just like, I just want to be left alone. So she gets kind of grumpy, but she kind of like just makes noise and like, rah, rah, if dog is like comes too close to her. And she happened to snap at Honey, and then Honey's like, I'm not gonna, what the hell, you know? And so it was like a little. I mean, I went, hey, and they stopped like right away, and they were like, all right, like you guys are good, okay, let's go inside. It wasn't anything. That's the only thing that's happened. Now, I know of a lot of people, when I ask people when they've gotten to fights, it's usually stuff that's happened in the backyard when they've been left by themselves, and there's no one to intervene at any point. And so I have a rule, and the rule is observe and confine. And like, if I can't observe the dogs, anytime my dogs are outside, they're never left alone by themselves, ever. I'm always with them in the backyard. So in the morning, I take them all out. We go outside. We go on a walk. We come back. We take the leashes off in the backyard. But I'm always there. We go in together. And we're always together. They're never left alone, unattended. I mean, I do have some dogs that are not in crates. But the newest dog, Nogi, there's no way I'm gonna leave her outside of the crate. No way, because I feel that she has this drive in her. If something were to trigger her, she could go after another dog. I've seen these little moments, right? Yeah. Yeah. Where
and it's funny, you know what, that when you showed, I saw a video of her back, I think right when you first got her, and she's a pity mix, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So those really super submissive pity mixes always have that what you're talking about right there. So you know what I mean? They're the ones that are, no matter what, 99.9% of the time, they're just what you see right there. But there's something about that type of energy that is like almost like a spring to it. Mm-hmm. And when that dog does go, it goes.
So I should probably get a video of this, but with her, the way she is with food, and I've told you this before, mm-hmm. the way she is with food is one of those like she, like the way she stares, like she's super stiff and just stares at the food, and I can get her attention, but she's still like really stiff. So she does not eat with the other dogs. I don't want to chance it. I've gotten her, I'll get her a feeder with Buddha, but she's on leash, things like that. And she's gotten a lot better now. She used to go where the food was at. She used to go there and like check all the dogs, like, get out of here. And I was like, okay, well, you actually have to get out of here,
Yeah, right.
And so when I start seeing these little things, I'm like, okay, well, this is probably a good indication that one, she should never be left alone amongst all the other dogs. I'm just not going to chance it. And even though she's great with my kids, I'm not going to chance it with her just being alone with my kids either.
Oh hell no.
Never. And so
I think there's groups you can, like my group is my 4 are completely safe. Now, saying that, Blue and Mr. Pickles got in a fight like on the first 2 or 3 days that Blue showed up. That was the only time I've never seen anything even remotely like has my attention.
Well, here's the thing also, like I always believe that, yes, they probably won't get in a fight, but they do have the potential to do it.
Yeah, all dogs do. I think the thing people struggle with is like they make too much, like their decisions are too extreme. Like there's too much freedom or there's too much structure. They don't understand like how you just did it, right? Like you said it perfectly. It's look, if I can't see you, I need to know what you're doing, which means I kind of need to put you away. When I'm watching you, then we can build it up, we can work it, we can make things happen, and we're going to find this system or this routine where we balance this out. I've been thinking like how to do a post. I was talking to Jen about it. You know, most people seek us out and they seek help like they think they need a well-trained dog, and I'm thinking, you know what? If I
Mm-hmm.
hand you a well-trained dog, you won't even know what to do with it. And it's not about you messing it up or anything. It's like, but the inherent way humans interact with dogs is not conducive to what they want. So it's like, why teach you to train the dog? There's this whole thing. You don't even know how to guide it from point A to point B. You're going to go,
Mm-hmm.
come, go, leave it, stay. You're going to use these words that really are kind of meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really create a continuity or conversation or any meaning to the dog. So I think people get caught up in like not knowing exactly how to blend this thing together. And even like this dog I have right now, this new dog, he's a 7-month-old Chesapeake Bay Retriever. He is him and his brother came out of the same litter.
Well, they
They
have litter mates.
they do, and
Hmm.
I took the dog in an odd way, like almost through a text. And it's just I took it because it was young, and I'm down for taking young dogs way more than I am for taking older dogs because I feel like I'm more impactful on younger dogs. And so I get this dog, and after a couple days, I'm like, okay, so this is what this like Caesar always says, you know, your dog's a snitch. Based on the way the dog was acting, you could tell that what this dog was doing is it was waking up, running around. They have like an acre or so of property, running around on property with his brother in just play mode, play, explore, play, explore, play, explore, play, explore, play, explore.
Yeah.
Would come inside, would bring that energy inside. And outside of, being exhausted and falling asleep would just be whining, submissively peeing really bad, whining, barking, just fucking chaos. Right. So that's an extreme of where there was no structure. And here you have this 6 or 7 month old dog, and people that are trying to be nice, oh my God, I don't want to be mean and put them in a crate or blah, blah, blah. I have all this land. It's like too much freedom. They don't realize what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And then you have the people that have the same situation. I have people out here that live on 5 acres and they keep their dog in a fucking kennel on their property. What the fuck? You have 5 acres, you doorknob. And so it's like, then there are these people that are just pure structure and pure, but how do you like blend it and transition it out? So this dog has to be on high structure, because if I give him freedom, he acts like a douchebag. He just runs around in chaos. And so it's this, now we're in about 10 or 11 days where he's coming off of a really regimented schedule and he's going into some freedom where he's around, you know what I mean? He's around the house. He has an e-collar on, but he's not dragging a leash. He doesn't have any restrictions other than, don't put shit in your mouth. But now, since, doing the podcast with you, I have him anchored to the front door on a double length leash. He immediately laid down and went to sleep. But it's that, and learning how can you keep control. Like I know I'm going to walk into a shit show with 10 dogs. 10 dogs pack attacked and killed another fucking dog. And like you said, Art, that's not going to happen in our world. And it's not that we're not going to have dogs that wouldn't pack attack and kill a dog. We're not going to have a situation where a dog can pack attack and kill another dog. That's the biggest difference, is that we're just not going to get in that position. It's not the dogs, right?
Yeah. I don't recommend. I mean, I have 7 dogs, and I will say that Buddha's the outlier in this whole group of all my 7 dogs. And I mean, Nogi has her little issues here and there, but they're she's so sensitive, it's easy manageable. Buddha's the only one of our dogs that is not the most compatible. I have to be structured with him. I have to be. With the other dogs, I don't have to be as structured because they're pretty easygoing, and with Buddha, I have to be. And he's gotten a lot better. He's got a lot more freedom now. Like, he's not in a crate. He actually does really good out of a crate. He chills out, but he still has these moments where, like just today, since our power went out, the people across from us live on the other side of the alley from us. They had the tree that they hadn't taken off from the storm we had, and it was kind of hanging above the power line. So when they went to go cut the tree down, when it fell on their power line and knocked their power out, which is kind of funny because I saw the whole thing happen. But and so then they people were out there in their bucket trucks and fixing the power line, and I heard him like, woo, I'm like, what the hell's going on out there? It just, he and I was like, all right, he's
having a little moment with the people that are outside, you know, kind of being a little protective of the house. But I went outside. I'm like, hey, dude, just calm down. Like, he knows. I ask him to go lay down and hang out. Not that I say down. I just know, like, hey,
Right.
go rest over here. And then he's like, oh, okay, you got it. I'm like, I got it. And he'll go and he'll just hang out there and he'll watch him. And you know, but before he was just like lose his shit, you know, and he still does it, but at least he has another option to go and hang out and rest.
You needed to practice a leave it command, and
Leave it.
Yep, you would have fixed it.
And another behavior, and I think you've mentioned this in one of your posts recently, and he was one of those dogs that would, like, I have to intervene because he'll just pace in the house. He paces. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, hey, go lay down. He's like, and he'll look at me and he'll just lay down and then he just falls asleep. But if I don't intervene, that pressure just builds up. And I think a lot of people don't intervene. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to intervene. They just let the dogs pace, or they don't like the pacing, but they just don't know what to do.
Well, that was what this dog, I think, was basically going through, is that if a brain in motion stays in motion, and then it becomes a habit. And so you've talked about the patterns before. So it's as simple as that. A brain in motion stays in motion, and a pattern gets developed around that motion, which leads to anxiety. You know, it's like the chicken or the egg. And then the human both gives it affection and gives it frustration. And so then it just, right? And if you don't interrupt that process, and I mean really fucking interrupt it. Like I was taking video of this dog yesterday because I'll let it go outside and run around with Blue and let it play. And when we come back in, it's at the door. Right? I mean, anxious, not just like hot. And Blue's over there playing the exact same amount of time. It's like, and so I give it a minute and wait. And you can see, even though it's a brown lab, around the eyes are all red and the eyes are kind of bloodshot. And when I walk across the threshold, I literally have to kind of like tiptoe this dog across the threshold to physically demonstrate what it means to be slow. Because this dog won't do it. Like I have to be so physically involved in the way the dog moves through my house that it's very difficult for somebody to know that that's what you're supposed to do. We're not told that's how you train a dog. We're told you give the dog a command. But if you start giving this dog commands, that's just like the dog I had yesterday. The dog was really sensitive and really, really, really sensitive. And then people just talk to it all the time and keep the ears alert. You know, and that's the same thing that would happen here. If you give this dog a bunch of commands, it's it stays in that mindset. And the concept of physically slowing a dog down or taking a leash and tying it off to something is not something humans are taught. We're not taught that's how you deal with a dog. We're taught you talk to it to teach it. And then it just gets fucking worse and worse and worse. And this dog is easy because it's young. If I got this dog at 1.5 years, this would be brutal. But it's just more kind of going through the paces since it's 6 or 7 months old. You know, I can see it's unwinding quite quickly. The owners came the other day. I asked the owners to come once a week when I have the dogs.
Yeah.
And the owners came and were like, what? And I had never really sat down with the owners to say, hey, what's going on here? And when I did, I said, this is what it feels like is going on to me. And I laid out what I just told you. And they're like, yep. And we just worked on lots of exercise, slowing it down, and just kind of just the pace, structuring the life so that they don't have the freedom to get into chaos. That's what you said just a minute ago. How did you phrase it? If I can't see you, what is it?
I don't know.
There was something about if I can't.
Oh, observe or confine.
Observe or confine, exactly. So I think that's the part that the average human gets confused with.
So if I'm not observing them, some of them are going to be confined.
Correct.
Like in their crates. So pretty simple rule. Actually, it's a rule I use for potty training. You know, because a lot of times the dogs will go off and wander off and pee. They usually don't do it in front of the people. It's rare. They do it, but it's rare that they will do. They very rarely will pee in front of the owner, which also can be transferred outside because sometimes the dogs won't pee in front of the owner when they're outside, which I learned something from you. Get a long line, let the dog go explore, let it go pee. So it's at a distance. I learned that from you, by the way, which I've used that trick quite a bit.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. But the observe or confine is like, okay, if you're going to be potty training your dog, you're either going to observe the dog or you're going to confine the dog because there's a good chance that the dog is not peeing in the crate where it sleeps. So we use that to our advantage. And then you take it out of the crate, you go outside and wait to see if it pees.
If it doesn't, then it goes right back in the crate, and they start earning the freedom over time for potty training.
Well, I think I kind of take the dog behavior approach from don't fuck it up more than you have to get it right. I think it's easier to fuck it up than the focus needs to be on getting it right. And by fucking it up is when you give a dog freedom, they learn bad things really quickly, and then you deal with those things they learned forever.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? You didn't set the patterns, you reacted to them, and since you don't understand the patterns, you keep reacting to them. And over and over it goes.
Yeah. All right. So I also want to mention something real quick. We are still getting some videos. I haven't shown you the videos yet, Todd, but for the listeners out there, we want to get more videos in. So if you guys could email us, and basically what we're going to do, we want to have a live podcast episode where Todd and I do a consultation with someone, with the owner, and we'll have the videos. We'll share the videos and watch them together and kind of guide the owner on what to do, and then maybe have a follow-up episode with them to see how things are going. So if this is something that interests you, any listeners out there, please submit some videos to dogpsychologypodcast@gmail.com. If the files are too big, just send us an email. We can set something up for you to send to us, probably on WhatsApp or something. But Todd, I have some videos that we have received that I want to share with you. So I'll get those over to you. I'll put them in a Dropbox so that we can watch them.
I do quite a few online appointments, so I've kind of gotten into a groove of being able to use descriptions or examples of helping people from online appointments, and I think it can go well. I think people can learn a lot. There's certain things that you really can't help, obviously. I think there's certain levels of intensity and aggression and so forth. You can offer some assistance.
One of those videos is actually it's pretty intense, but I think it'd still be good to, if we do decide to pick this one, to kind of give them some heads up on when to intervene, because some of the videos that I saw were like, oh, a little late on that one.
Okay.
But what I'll do is I'll get a Dropbox and I'll start uploading them with the client's name, because we do have quite a few of them. And
if there's any trainers out there that are maybe going through something with a client or their own situation, that would be okay too.
Yeah, we can help them out too.
Absolutely. All right, Art. I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, it's good. All right, guys. So thank you guys for listening to the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd and Art. If you aren't subscribing to us on YouTube, please do so by hitting that little thumbs up button. And just want to thank you for following us. All right, guys. Have a good one.
See you guys.